elected.
I don't know.
Do you know how much the homicide rate has changed during your tenure as mayor?
I do.
How much?
It has gone up.
It's gone up
and
by
it is
about
going
70%.
down.
It's gone up by about 70% from
I don't think that's
2014 to
correct. I don't think that's
2024. Those are
correct.
from the Metropolitan Police Department.
I
That
don't
is
think that
correct.
number is
You
correct.
should know the crime
Yeah, and
statistics for your own city,
I do know
especially
my
whenever
crime
it's this
statistics.
dangerous. Do you know how carjackings have trended during your time in office?
I know that they have gone down.
They're up over 500% since
Mm-hmm.
from 2014 to 2024. That's not a safe city. I don't think any.
This is Mr. Gill from Texas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for holding this hearing. And I'd also like to thank the witnesses for taking the time to be here today. I know y'all are busy, so really appreciate it. Mayor Bowser, thank you to you especially for coming here. You've been mayor for about 10 years, right?
Yes.
Okay. And during that time, would you describe D.C. as a safe city?
Yes.
You would?
Listen, Mr. Gill, and it was brought up earlier by the Congresswoman from
The murder
Detroit.
rate in Washington, D.C. is the fourth highest of any city in the
I
country. Would you describe that as a safe
I
city?
have heard every statistic and factoid, and they're all different about where
Are you
our city.
disputing
No,
that Washington, D.C. is the fourth highest murder rate in the country?
I'm not familiar with that statistic.
You're not familiar with that
What I know,
statistic.
Mr.
This is your
Gill,
city.
Mr. Gill,
Respectfully,
excuse
this
me.
is your city.
Respectfully, I know that we have driven our murder rate down.
What was the
over-
homicide rate in 2014 before your person would call that a safe city? Well, move on. Do you agree that defunding the police makes our communities less safe, don't you?
This is what I want to say.
It's a straightforward question.
Yeah.
You're not going to filibuster. Do you
This is my
think that
answer.
defunding the police
This is
makes our
my
communities
answer.
less safe?
What I know is that people have moved here. People have sent their kids here. People have started businesses here. We have record.
Does
have
defunding the
record
police make our
visitation,
communities
and
more
so
or less
those
safe?
are the indications
defunding the police
of
make
a
our
city
communities
where
more or
people
less
want
safe?
to live, work, and
You
visit.
won't even back your own police department right now. I'm asking you, does defunding the police make our communities more or less safe? And you won't give me a straight answer.
I've already answered that today.
And why don't you tell me again, do you think that defunding the police makes our communities more or less safe?
I've never defunded the police, nor would I.
You think it makes our communities less safe, is that correct?
I just told you, I've never defunded the police, and
I
I never would.
understand that. You know, you may not have defunded the police, and that's a good thing, but you did provide a $125,000 grant to an organization lobbying to defund the police. Are you aware of that?
What is that you just raised?
It's an organization called HIPS that you provided just this year, fiscal year 2025, a $125,000 grant to.
I
This
think
is
we
them
funded
lobbying
them to
defund the
do public
police.
health work.
Quote, "It's time we shifted to a society free of police and systems of incarceration."
We fund them for public health work.
For public health.
Yes.
Does this make our communities more healthful?
We
By defunding our police?
fund them for public
Do you
health.
think defunding our police and lobbying to defund our police and undermine local
I've
law
answered that
enforcement
question.
makes our communities more safe?
I've answered
or
that
healthful?
question.
Do you think that providing tax dollars to an organization who wants to defund our police is good for the residents of Washington, D.C.?
We wouldn't fund them for that purpose. We would
But you
fund them.
funded them, and you chose to give them money. You gave them hard-working tax dollars to an organization that wants to defund the police.
We fund them for public health.
Do you think that giving housing, free housing to illegal aliens is an appropriate use of tax dollars?
We think if it keeps people off the streets, then we have to keep people off the streets.
You agree with giving your residents tax dollars and using them to give subsidized housing for illegal aliens?
But Mr. Gill, we also didn't agree with the governor of Texas or Arizona busing people, tricking them to come to our city.
And it's
we
not,
didn't agree
not
with that
surprising
either.
to me because you're also funding NGOs that support free housing for illegal aliens.
And I hope you
And
would
they're
agree
lobbying for
that
You're
other
using tax
governors
dollars
shouldn't
to provide-
send people on
provide
buses that
NGOs
don't
that are
have any
lobbying to
housing
give
to our city.
free housing for illegal aliens in your city. That makes your city less safe. I want to move on. In May of 2024, and this was referenced earlier, there were some major pro-Palestinian protests and sit-ins at George Washington University. This was during final exam season. They were terrorizing Jewish students. They were doing it for weeks. It was a major problem. The police were called in, and you stopped them from doing their job. Why is that?
I didn't stop the police from doing anything.
It is illegal for them to block a roadway. We've got the law right here. It's unlawful for a person alone or in concert with others to obstruct or incommode any street avenue. That's exactly what they were doing, and you refused to allow police to clear them out. Why is that?
That's incorrect.
Why would you stop police? Clear the record then.
I never stopped
You
the
didn't
police.
stop them.
No, I did not.
You didn't stop them. Would you like to explain what happened? Why police never cleared out this roadway?
Police did clear roadways.
They were there for weeks.
Police cleared roadways.
They were there for weeks,
Actually,
terrorizing Jewish
they were
students, and this is
probably
in
on
your city.
private property, not on the roadway.
No, they were on public roadways.
No, they weren't.
Terrorizing Jewish students,
they
and you
weren't.
allowed it to happen.
No,
I
they
yield
weren't.
my time back.
No, they weren't.
As the echoes of the gavel fade and the chamber quiets, one moment lingers in the air. The exchange between Congressman Brandon Gill and Mayor Muriel Bowser. The words are sharp, surgical, unrelenting. Would you describe D.C. as a safe city? Gill asks. A pause. Yes, Bowser replies. It is that pause, that brief hesitation between conviction and contradiction, that captures the unease of a city and perhaps of a nation. Across the polished wood and the flicker of nameplates, the conversation becomes something larger than crime statistics. It becomes a mirror, reflecting a decade of leadership, policy, and public trust. The congressman's tone cuts through the procedural calm, his voice carrying the numbers like indictments. Homicides up 70%, carjackings up 500, each percentage point a life, a fear, a streetlight left burning in uncertainty. The mayor's answers, careful and defensive, reveal not just political calculus, but the fragility of authority when confronted with hard truth. This was not merely a clash of data, it was a moral collision between narrative and accountability. On one side, the elected guardian of the capital city, a city meant to embody order, law, and the promise of American governance. On the other, a representative demanding to know why that promise feels broken to so many. When Bowser said, "We fund them for public health," she wasn't just explaining a grant, she was defending a philosophy, one that sees crime as symptom, not cause. But Gill's retort, pointing to a group advocating a world free of police and systems of incarceration, pressed the question that haunts modern America. When compassion collides with reality, who pays the price? The room's silence after each exchange spoke volumes. This was more than political theater. It was a reckoning over the meaning of safety, the role of government, and the boundaries of ideology. For years, Washington, D.C. has been both symbol and symptom, a city governed by ideals yet plagued by contradictions. Here, power lives alongside poverty, and policy often drifts above consequence. The hearing stripped away the polished veneer, exposing a simple truth: data doesn't bend to politics, and leadership, when divorced from accountability, becomes merely rhetoric in motion. As the questioning turned to protests and policing, the tone shifted from crime to control, from safety to sovereignty. Gill accused Bowser of halting law enforcement during the pro-Palestinian demonstrations at George Washington University. His words painted an image of streets blocked, Jewish students afraid, the law itself paused in the name of politics. Bowser denied it, standing firm. But in the eyes of those watching, the argument wasn't about one protest. It was about a pattern, a growing sense that rules are optional, that enforcement depends on narrative, and that justice can be filtered through ideology. This is what hearings like these truly reveal. Not just disagreements over numbers, but the moral architecture of governance. Every question, every answer becomes a test of whether officials still serve the people or merely the image of service. The mayor's insistence that people have moved here, sent their kids here, started businesses here, was meant as proof of success. Yet the congressman's statistics painted a harsher reality, one where families lock doors earlier, where fear travels faster than hope. Between those two truths lies the chasm of modern politics: perception versus experience, talking points versus lived life. What played out in that hearing wasn't just a confrontation between two public servants. It was the sound of a nation struggling to define what safety means in an age of division. Are we safer when we fund organizations that oppose policing? Are we compassionate when we shelter the undocumented at the expense of citizens? Are we just when protests silence one community in the name of another? These questions don't end when the gavel falls. They follow us into the streets, into city halls, into every corner of the Republic where accountability has grown quiet. And perhaps that's why this moment mattered, because it stripped away the comfort of slogans. It forced elected leaders to face their record and reminded citizens that truth doesn't need permission to speak. Gill's confrontation may have been political, but its weight was moral. In his persistence, do you think defunding the police makes our communities more or less safe? We hear the echo of millions asking the same of their own leaders. It is the voice of a public weary of excuses, yearning for clarity, for courage, for consequence. As the hearing adjourns and the cameras dim, the questions remain suspended in the air like dust caught in a shaft of light. What kind of capital do we want to stand at the heart of our democracy? One that embodies safety, law, and order, or one that negotiates them away in the name of optics? For a city that belongs to every American, its failures are not just local, they are symbolic. If Washington cannot keep its own streets safe, what hope do smaller towns have? If accountability falters here, what example does it set elsewhere? The clash between Brandon Gill and Muriel Bowser was not about personalities. It was about priorities. It was about whether statistics are more than numbers, whether they represent lives worth defending. It was about whether leadership means defending citizens first or defending policy positions under the glare of a microphone. In that tension, the truth emerged, that the measure of public service is not in words spoken, but in the safety of those who cannot speak for themselves. And so, as the chamber empties and the words echo into history, one truth stands unshaken: that transparency is not cruelty, that accountability is not attack, and that silence in the face of failure is the real betrayal of the public trust. For in this moment, beneath the lights of Congress and the weight of government, we are reminded that safety is not a statistic. It is a promise. And promises, once broken, must be reclaimed, not by rhetoric, but by resolve. This is the Capitol Watch. Truth demands witnesses. Stay vigilant, subscribe, and keep watching.